isn't. All right, so first of all, there's going to be a lot of struggle in your life. In fact, I cannot guarantee that you will be successful in life, but I can guarantee that you're going to struggle. So, while I don't want people to think that the struggle is the success, because it's not, I want people to understand that the struggle is necessary. The struggle is the guaranteed part. Now, I don't want you to be comfortable there. I don't want you to sit in that. I don't want you to say, well, Tom said this was going to be a struggle. This is going to be hard, and so there's no reason to try to make it better. You want to always be trying to make it better. The struggle should be intelligent. The struggle should be efficient. You should struggle as little as you need to in order to get the momentum going that you need to get in order to reach escape velocity and whatever it is that you're trying to do. But don't think that you can ever eliminate the struggle. So there's some amount of that that's going to be necessary. Okay, now how do we know when we've taken the struggle to a place that makes sense and when it's spilling over? And the answer is, even though we're going to hold in the back of our mind that there's going to be an element of struggle to this and that the struggle is guaranteed, you should also hold in your mind the competing idea that I don't put up with struggle. I don't want to struggle. I want to make this as easy as possible. I want this to be as efficient as possible. And the ability to hold those two competing ideas in your head and exist in the friction between them. And the friction is this: I don't want to struggle at all. I want things to come easily to me. I want to become so powerful that I'm like a character in a video game that has God tier powers on the beginning level, and I can just decimate every obstacle that's in front of my path. And the other side of that friction is that I know that the better I get, I better be going after more. I better be playing a bigger and bigger game and getting into more and more difficult situations. And therefore, I'm always existing right in that moment where I can just barely grasp the branch that I'm reaching for. It's always almost out of reach, because that's how you make progress in your life. And as Tony Robbins says, and I think this is so genius, progress is one of the foundational pillars of human happiness. If you want to love your life, you've got to be making progress. But the only way to make that progress is to constantly be pushing yourself. So the friction is, I want it to be easy. I do not want to struggle. But in my struggle, I'm actually getting more powerful, and therefore I should be seeking more and more difficult things to get into it. Now, if you're just in a spiral, and this is you being afraid to reach for something new, and so you're actually more comfortable just to stay thrashing about in the small world, struggling, never actually trying to achieve anything real so that you never have to reach beyond your grasp, so that you don't have to be in a harder and harder situation, then you just have to be honest with yourself. And again, the way that we're going to figure this out is we're going to look at progress. What's your goal? Did you write it down? Does it have a due date? Do you know what, how much, and by when? If you don't have goals that have those three components, then you're never going to know if you're making progress. And this is where most people want to live. Most people want to live in a space where they don't know if they're making progress, because if you don't know if you're making progress, you also don't know if you're failing. And if you don't know if you're failing, there's a safety to that. There's security to that. In fact, one of the most nefarious things that nature implanted in our minds is loss aversion. It feels way worse to lose something than it feels good to get something. Because we have that negativity bias, because that was very important to keeping us alive in a primitive environment, because we have that loss aversion, most people would actually rather stay where they're comfortable than acquire new skills, get more powerful, and be capable of doing more things. So the way to check yourself against that is to have a goal or goals that have very measurable outcomes. So you know if you're actually moving towards them or not. And they have those three elements. What are you trying to do? How much equals success? So I'm going to be the chief marketing officer of this company by a given date. Okay, so you need something that is measurable, that you can see whether you did it. Money becomes an easy one. I just don't want to encourage anyone to chase money, but it'll be a great example. I want to be earning $350,000 a year 36 months from now. Pick a very specific date. Okay? Now, We know exactly what we're going for. And by the way, we can break that out and say, how much extra would I need to be making per, probably don't want to do it on a monthly basis, but per quarter, half a year, certainly year, so that you know whether you're on track. So you don't just wait for this binary outcome at the end of 36 months.